Good morning, everyone. Jim Laird here from Largo, Florida. And what can I say? Wow, it is absolutely gorgeous this morning. The falls here in Florida are absolutely incredible. So it's kind of no wonder people are moving here in droves and droves. I hope you're doing well today. We have a lot going on. Got the fundamentals of wellness with coaching call tonight. We do group coaching. I do group coaching every Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Eastern. Dr. Stillman and I do 2 calls on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., second and fourth Wednesday of every month. And then I do an additional coaching call on the third Saturday of every month at 11 o'clock, I believe. And we basically get on these calls and kind of help people figure out what they need to be doing to get themselves going in the right direction. There's a lot of nuance to this, and then we provide accountability for people. So we sold out of our HTMA course. Clark and Dr. Stillman did a great webinar on minerals this past weekend. You can go to either one of our YouTube channels and check it out. We're also these broadcasts are on Spotify. They're on Apple Podcast. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's on a number of different platforms, so you can check that out. But you definitely want to get on our email list. We do a weekly webinar. Last week's was on mind, body, medicine, and blood pressure. Can't remember off the top of my head what this week's topic is, but that's every Thursday at 10 a.m. And the only way to get in on those webinars is to actually be on our email list. And you want to be on our email list. And we've got some, good morning, Dr. Stillman. We've got some
good morning, everyone.
Really interesting plans to save you guys some money. And we won't let the cat out of the bag yet, but we're planning on doing some things for the people that follow us and on our email list that will really help provide value to them, because Dr. Stillman and I, our number one priority, obviously we want to make a living and we want to eat food and stuff. But we also want to do everything we want to
eat food that's delicious, and it's not free.
Yeah. And it's not free, but we are going somewhere.
We're not eating the government cheese.
We are going to go somewhere where the food is a lot more reasonably priced, that's for sure. But
we're going to Nicaragua in January. Yeah. Sign up for our retreat. It's going to be a whole lot of fun.
It is going to be a whole lot of fun. $15 to $20 for a tomahawk ribeye.
Oh boy! And of course, you're not paying that because the trip is all inclusive.
Well, no, yeah, the food is
the retreat is all inclusive. Yeah.
Happy Halloween to you too, James. I don't know if Halloween's something I necessarily celebrate, but oh well, it's fun to watch, So, but yeah, the food is all inclusive on the retreat. Everything's included. All you got to do is get yourself there. They pick you up from the airport, and you get to hang out with Dr. Stillman, Stan, Efforting, and I for 6 days, and probably some other guests that we have there as well. Who knows with the number of people Dr. Stillman and I know, who knows, might make an appearance there.
Yeah, we're very excited. So get on the email newsletter.
So I just got done telling them the HTMA course sold out, but here's the thing: if you're looking to get in on that, what'll happen is when you click on that link on our website, there'll be a pop-up page that'll put you on the wait list, and then you can actually buy the course. And then the next time we release it, the course price will be discounted off the coaching or the mastermind program. So that's a way you can. And of course, what we do is when we release the new mastermind coaching program, we basically send it to the people that have already bought the course first. Then we send it to the people on the wait list, and then we announce it to everybody. So you'll be first to know. Plus, then you'll get all of our access to all of our free webinars that we're constantly doing to update, the fundamentals of wellness program. So that's great. And so the topic for today is, how can we help you? And yesterday we talked about why we do what we do. And I think the biggest thing that we can do for you is provide you some, between Dr. Stillman, my practical experience of destroying my health in numerous ways, and then helping guide thousands of people in the last 25 plus years into finding defining what your goals actually are, because a lot of people are really confused. A lot of people look at like high hard charging high performers, when their goal is to look good and feel good, they don't understand that a lot of the high level athletes, one, are very genetically gifted. Two, they don't understand the consequences and the trade-offs that come with training at that intensity. And if your goal is just to look good and feel good, you really don't have to do anything that insane. You just have to do some simple things consistently. So getting people to actually quantify their goals and to actually look at, okay, you want to look like this or you want to perform like this. Well, here's the consequences of that. Here's the things you're going to have to give up. And this is what the consequences or the possible consequences of you doing this. So having somebody that has experience to look at you, because a lot of times I've had women come to me over my number one goal is to lose body fat and to look more athletic, and they're running marathons and they're gaining weight running marathons, or they're training like a maniac and their sleep is they're not sleeping well, they got horrible stress, they're training too much. And so we cut their training back. We get them to focus on the things they're lacking. And all of a sudden they get the results they want without the work isn't put into the actual work. It's put into the actually, are you recovering from your training? So having somebody that can look at this and listen to what you think you want, and then talk to you about, is this really what you want? And then help them, guide them once they decide what they want, helping to guide them into the things that are really going to move the needle for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so when people ask me what I do, right, if I want to give them the short answer, I say, look, I'm a general internist who specializes in natural and integrative medicine. But the truth is, my goal is to help people look and feel their best. And I go back to my favorite Bible verse, which is John 10:10. The beginning of it, I always forget. And if I remember it, I misremember it. But it's basically the whole verse is something like, the thief comes to steal and to destroy and to kill. But I'm come that they might have life and have it more abundantly. So when I think about that phrase, have life and have it more abundantly, that's really what I focus on with people, because that's for the most part what they want. They want to be full of an abundance of life. They want to have energy. They want to have vitality. They want to heal quickly from their injuries. They want to be able to get up, in the morning at a reasonable hour and have sustained focus, energy, mental clarity, and physical strength, and the ability to do what they feel called to do during the day, right up until they go to bed. And it's helping them understand, A, how to get there, and then B, what the, like you said, trade-offs are. Because I think that what most of the people who come to work with us they lack insight in is what is realistic versus what is possible.
Right.
So we deal with this all the time, because most people in their youth set up behaviors, strategies, they make choices, they fall into habits, lifestyles that are sustainable. They're not sustainable, and they get away with it because they're young. And even the young will get things so wrong that their health goes off the rails, and they really need help getting back on track so that they can be well and have a full life. And so what people don't realize is, as you get older, you have this natural reduction in your range of what you can handle. Duration of things like exercise, intensity of exercise, number of supplements you can take or respond to, doses of supplements, doses of medications. I mean, everything, you have this range. And not only does it, inevitably diminish with age, but it also, it's dynamic. So one day you can do a beatdown workout and get away with it, but 2 weeks later you mistime it, and you put yourself through it on a bad day when you really didn't have enough gas in the tank, and it lays you out for 2 or 3 weeks. And people don't perceive how dynamic their system is. They experience it, but oftentimes they get confused as to what that actually means. And they really need insight from people who've worked with as many people as we've worked with for as many years as we've worked with them, and who have experience with so many different things. I mean, and we have such a great, combination of skill sets, I think, because I'm so deep in the biochemistry, the hormones, the nutrition, all this nitty gritty, detail oriented stuff. That's more about what people are eating and, the light they're under, and that kind of thing. And then yours is very focused on the exercise and biomechanics and things like that. And between those two skill sets, there's really not anything we don't cover to help people understand. And you often say this, We're trade-off coaches. We teach people what the trade-offs are. You want to be super mom, super wife, super daughter, and super employee. Well, you're going to have to pick and choose what your priorities
It's
are.
super CEO. It's never super employee. It's super CEO, president of
Sometimes it's
company.
super CEO, but we see lots of people who just they so over deliver at their job. Often
Right.
often underappreciated.
Right.
And so we have to say, hey, listen, we can do things like, or you can do things like, well, you could take Ritalin, you could take stimulants, you could take this, you could take that. You can take things in order to get away with what you're doing and a higher tempo, pace, intensity of life. But you're basically, as you've said before about energy drinks, it's like stealing energy from the future. You have to pay it back eventually. And so
Right.
we help people
You're
understand.
not the government. You just can't print
Yeah, you
unlimited
can't
money.
just, well, even they don't get away with it at the end, right? Eventually, all
Well,
currency's
but
values
who
go to
has to
zero.
pay for that?
Who
We
has to
do.
pay for that? Who gets left holding the bag is the real.
That's right. That's right. We do.
And we don't
But
want you guys to
but
get left holding the bag of your illness, which is essentially what a lot of the healthcare system is created to leave you with, which is why bankruptcy, number one cause of bankruptcy is medical bankruptcy or medical bills. And so what happens is people don't perceive the how they are as much a problem in this equation as the system itself. People get what they vote for, they get what they pay for. And the people, yes, I'm talking to you, you've played into this system to some degree or another. And it's very
Mhm.
important to understand how your behavior drives your own dysfunction. Like we see this all the time. People come to us, they say, well, something like your course and your mastermind is expensive, and then we talk to them about what they're putting money into outside of that. And they're putting $200, $300, $400 a month into supplements. And we say, look, our services are affordable compared to that. And we'll help you teach you how to get those supplements from food, and we'll help teach you how to not need those supplements. Oh, and by the way, a lot of them you didn't need anyway, right? And so that's our approach. It's
Well, I think
create
you said two
simplicity,
things.
efficiency, and help people understand how to really take care of themselves and live well, so that they can achieve their goals.
I think you said two things that are really important. We focus on them learning about them and their, right? Getting people to focus more on the present and themselves and doing what they need to do as opposed to looking at what other people are doing, right? That's one of the biggest problems. The biggest problems today, right, is
Yes.
everyone's like looking at what everyone else has,
Mm-hmm.
and also just to counter the noise, right? You've got this constant fear mongering,
Lots of noise.
saber rattling, just absolute constant, and it's very easy to lose self-awareness, and especially if you feel like you're on an island and you're by yourself. It's very easy to kind of get swept away, with the current, and the body, like structure wise, physiologically wise, is always going to take the path of least resistance, right? So um, we're automatically just going to go, if there's 1,000 people marching in a line, it's naturally instinctive for you to just want to walk along with those people, as opposed to walking the opposite direction, right? You're just programmed to kind of follow the masses. And so, what we teach you is how to step back and look. And I think one of the things that we do well, that a lot of places, and I do focus a lot on, you know, biomechanics, what we call variability, making sure people have movement options, making sure they have the variability they need to do the tasks that they need to do. But the psychological and the emotional side of it is a huge component that most people never talk about.
100%. Yeah.
And honestly, a majority of my work is helping people shut off the noise and look at themselves internally. Why do I feel like I have to do all this stuff? Am I trying to fill a void that I just can't fill? Like, getting people to
Right.
actually slow down enough to actually kind of process this. And you don't hear too many strength coaches or performance coaches talking to people about, okay, like, what's going on underneath all of this? What layers are there? Why are you never happy? And there was a great video by Hermosi today. He said, most of the people that are high level champions are broken because they never stop. But most people are never ever going to be a high level champion. Do you really want to
Mhm.
live your life constantly being broken and pushing the edge of performance. Now, if you want to do that, great. But like I said, there's trade-offs with that. It's
There are.
not being a high-level performer in anything um, has a price, you know.
It can have very, very big price tags, right?
So you just have to be aware of what you're willing to give up, or you
Right.
know, the risks
And
the risk you're going to take.
I think it's really important that so many people out there that we follow, that we listen to, we tune into, they're very focused on one thing. So, for example, you have the mind body medicine doctors, and
Mhm.
it's all mind body medicine. You have the mold, Lyme, chronic disease, vector borne illness doctors, and it's all mold, Lyme, Bartonella, whatever. You have got the petroleum toxin, multiple chemical sensitivity, environmental contamination, group, that they're very focused on that. You got people who are totally focused on, the plants are killing you, and then you got the other people out there, the animal products are killing you that you're eating, right? You got the people out there who say you never take supplements, and then you got the people who are like, oh my gosh, look at this selfie I did of all these supplements on my tongue before I swallow them, right? So you have all these different competing views, right? And the truth is, all of these are just tools. And Jim, is this a Bill Hartmanism, or did you come up with this? You said this was a couple months ago. You said there are no rules, only tools, and that's a
Yeah, I
fact.
think that's probably a Bill, or maybe that's just me spinning some of Bill's model / philosophy. I can't remember who said.
Right.
There was a strength coach that said that there's no rules, there's only tools, because in a certain situation, certain strategies that over the long haul would kill you might be the
Mm-hmm.
strategy you need to stay alive. It's just,
Or save somebody else's life.
do you have the options to switch strategy? Just, it's that
Right.
principle.
Right.
And the thing that we focus on is, let's empty the stress bathtub. Let's
Right.
restore redox,
Right.
so you have the capacity to handle stress. But if your
Cellular energy
bathtub is
generation.
constantly
Yeah.
full, you're going to be susceptible to all these things, and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
blame something when the whole system is overloaded.
Right.
And that's why the fundamentals are so important, because it gives the healthy human what it needs to be healthy. All the things the
Yeah.
human needs to be in a good place, the
Right.
fundamentals cover. And then there might be some slight nuances to some different things,
Mm-hmm.
but the body is so resilient, or we wouldn't be here.
I know.
It will figure stuff out. But the big component that most people lack, and particularly because of our modern world, and we don't get quiet time in nature, is the chronic mental stress, that hamster wheel in your head that's running all the time. And most
Mm-hmm.
people have no idea how to deal with it. And our modern world creates that hamster. It puts that hamster on crack. And that hamster because the antidote to the hamster is silence in nature. But
Mm-hmm.
there is no silence in nature anymore, with the
Mm-hmm.
phones and the TVs and things always
That's
going
right.
on. And you raised a good point about kids. This stuff is going to be even so needed in the future for the younger generation,
So important.
because
Right.
they didn't play outside in the dirt. They didn't spend time outside. Like me, I'm so grateful I grew up when I did,
Right.
because
On a farm,
I
no less.
built a foundation of decent movement, getting outside. I mean, I remember growing up being fed liver when I was growing up, right? A couple
Yeah.
times a
Liver and
week.
onions.
Yeah, liver and onions. And so I had the exposure of being outside for hours and hours and hours and hours. I developed, we had play-based learning in school. We have this generation of kids who are starting off, I might have started off here before I basically started my self-destruction journey, where I ended up like down here where I first
Yeah.
got colitis, right? What happens when you normally start here because you had a normal play-based childhood? What happens when you grow up in an indoor life and you was sitting in front of screens all day, you had no
I know.
movement,
I know.
and you start here?
Yeah.
That means you're going to end up down deeper. That took me 20 years to really, really destroy myself, maybe 25. You got kids now like 11, 12 years old with Hashimoto's. I mean, it's absolutely
Right. Serious chronic
loopy
disease.
nuts. It's not going to
It's
get better.
terrible. Yeah, and so a couple things that you mentioned there that I want to unpack for people, because I think sometimes we fall into our own lingo, and sometimes people who don't know us well are like, "Well, what are they talking about? Strategy, variability? What are they talking about?" Let me give you 2 examples here, right? If I told you that right now you had to go deadlift twice your personal record, right?
Or we kill your entire family.
Stop it. I was getting to that. So you have to go deadlift, twice your personal record. And if you've never deadlifted anything, I just want you to imagine a very heavy amount of weight, the kind of
Well, that's
weight that would
easy if
make,
you've
hey,
never
I'm busy
deadlifted
here, Jim.
anything.
You're just interrupting me again.
I'm sorry.
So
This is
let's
really funny
say
though. This is really funny. If you've never deadlifted before and you have to deadlift twice your personal record, then that's the bar.
that's
That's
fair,
easy.
actually. That's really funny. But anyway, let's say that you have to do this, right? You have to lift this weight. Now I've lost my train of thought.
I use the tree falling on a kid example. There's a tree
That's what I was
falls on the
going with.
kid.
I was going for that, right?
Okay, good. You steal it. Go for it.
So you have to do this, right? It doesn't matter how you do it. You just have to do it. But if you do that every single day and you're constantly punishing your body and lifting too much weight for the strategy that you're in, you can create a lot of orthopedic issues. And this is why people will come to Jim and, he'll show them what they're doing. And he may beg to differ on how I phrase this, but what they're doing wrong that's creating the problem that they're then going to the orthopedic surgeon for, or whoever, the PT, et cetera. I see the gears spinning in his head. He's like, I'm going to have to unpack and repack what Dr. Stillman is saying here, but
I'll summarize it up after you're done.
Right. Now we see the same thing, versus the exercise world and the supplement medication world, where people say, well, I'm going to add Ritalin and I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that. And they start to use these supplements and these medications in order to essentially, it builds a strategy. And that strategy is what they use to get through the day, to accomplish, et cetera. But they eventually run out of rope. They run out of what I call therapeutic runway. And then the plane has not left the runway. It is not, departed from the ground, and it runs off the end of the runway, and it's a disaster. And so we have to help people make sure that the fundamental elements of their health and well-being are in place, because if they don't have those fundamentals in place, they always end up running into a ditch or running off the runway. And then it's much harder to fix them, right? And they fight this, they complain about this, they don't like this typically, but this is how nature is. And so you've got to learn how to manage your health and your well-being, which is really what I think arguably we fundamentally do. We help people understand how to do this. That's why we call our sessions masterminds. We're helping you mastermind your health, your fitness, your well-being, et cetera, right? Because we want you to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish and do what you want to do. But most people out there we see are selling you, they're always selling you on hype, or they're selling you on fear, and they're not giving you a balanced picture of reality. And that leads you into making a lot of mistakes that we then have to go back and help you fix. Oftentimes we have to, I don't know if I like to say this word, but that's how I think about it. We have to deprogram a lot of programming that you've gotten from marketers, the mainstream media, even the alternative, media, people who mean well, but they aren't clinicians. They don't actually coach anybody. They don't have one-on-one experience or group coaching experience. And so they just parrot what they hear and what they've said, or they base all their conclusions and statements on studies that don't necessarily have or lack real world context.
All right, let me summarize that up. So tree falls on kid, mom freaks out. She goes, oh my gosh, there's a tree on my kid. Gets a huge dump of adrenaline. She runs outside. She squats down, arches her back really hard, and throws her head back. That is an emergency high threshold strategy. It's great. When you go into hard extension, you limit rotation because you're getting ready to produce a lot of force. You don't want things moving. You don't want things rotating when you're trying to produce a lot of force. She throws her head back. She jams her spine together as hard as she can, and she lifts that tree off the kid, and the kid gets out, and the kid survives. Okay. Then that strategy should shut off, and it should be done. Okay. Mm-hmm. She should be able to go back to a more posture that gives her more options. Okay. When I work with somebody and I assess them, I make them do a body weight squat. And guess what 90% of people do? They just do a simple body weight squat and they go into this, which takes away hip movement. It takes away the ability to rotate.
For those of you listening, Jim just arched his back.
They go into this emergency strategy and they can't shut it off. And then they train and they reinforce that extended strategy again and again and again. And then they wonder why their knees hurt. And they wonder why they're an overbreather. They wonder why they can't get their respiratory rate down. Same thing for mental chronic stress. You're in traffic, somebody pulls in front of you and, pisses you off, and your blood pressure goes up and you get this big rush of adrenaline. A lot of people don't have the ability to tune that down and shut that strategy off. So it's not that any of these things are wrong or they need to be fixed. It's just they need to be managed so that you can have both. I should be able to eat I should be able to fast without feeling like crap. And I should be able to eat a piece of key lime pie without feeling like I'm going to go into a coma, right? You should be able to switch between back and forth. It's the same thing with movement. I should be able to arch my back to run away from something. Then I should be able to get into a deep squat, flex my spine, or get into child's pose and breathe to restore and relax. I have to be able to do both extremes. And most people get stuck on one side. And most people, because our world is so go, 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 we don't get any time in nature. We don't get movement variability. We don't move around in different ways. The body resorts to that, I'm going to camp out on my spine. I'm going to camp out on my capsules. And then people are living such a high-paced world with caffeine, stimulants, always going. The body revs and revs and revs, and they only feel good when they're in a revved up state, and they go to bed exhausted, but they don't actually truly relax. And the reason we talk about relaxation and we talk about restoration is so that if you rest the system, guess what? When you do have to go like a maniac, you have the ability to do it, and you have the capacity and the fitness to handle the stress.
Absolutely. And this extends to everything, right? You said you should be able to fast. You should be able to have a key lime pie,
That doesn't mean you do it all the time.
Right.
That doesn't mean you
should be
fast
able
all the time,
yeah.
or you should be eating key lime pie all the time. It just means you should be able to do both and be okay.
And you should be able to jump into the sauna for 20 minutes and not feel like you're wasted when you get out.
How
You
about
should
10
be
minutes?
able to take a brisk walk outside when it's 45 degrees without a jacket and not feel like you're about to freeze to death. You should be able to jump into the occasional cold plunge or cold body of water, right? And not feel like you're going to die. You should be able to, on and on and on, all these different things that are part of normal life, fitness, well-being, wellness, health, is being able to deal with this variety of stresses in your body. And this is one thing that people need to realize. You can specialize in meeting or dealing with a certain type of stress or threat, right? But that's going to take away from your ability to deal with other stresses or threats because there's only so much gas in the tank. There's only so much tread on the tires, right? You are not going to be the world's greatest power lifter and you win a gold medal at the Olympics in the butterfly. It's not going to happen.
Correct.
So that's why I use this example often because it's very common in our practice, right? Well, I want to be super mom, super employee, and super wife. Well, look, we could put you on performance enhancing drugs and supplement your hormones and do all kinds of fancy stuff to help you be unbelievably good. But is that really appropriate? Is that really a good long-term strategy? And we usually coach people out of that. And there's some situations in which I'll say, look, I'm not going to enable you to do this. You're telling me that you want to effectively, you know, run yourself into the ground and then use these things in order to temporize yourself so you can get away with it for longer. That's not healthy. It's not appropriate.
Or at the very least, teach them how to cycle it. Like you're going to bust your ass
right?
for the next month, and then you're going to take a month to to do less,
right?
And then you're going to choose. You're going to pick and choose when you work.
Yeah,
and then you're going to even the whole remember the Sabbath day. Even God took one day off, right? So
and there's always a busy season.
Right.
And an off season, like
for every season, turn. There's a season, turn. Right.
Yeah. And I just was reading this and I can't remember if it's Exodus or Leviticus, but when God ordains the Sabbath, he says, you're even going to observe this in the time of plowing and the time of harvesting. Because we all have busy seasons. So we totally get it if you just have to crush your numbers this quarter. But the idea that you're going to crush your numbers this quarter and next quarter and the next quarter and the next quarter, Well, get ready to need bioidentical hormones. Get ready to need that Ritalin, that Adderall, whatever. And,
Right.
don't expect us to pretend that it's not a flawed, unsustainable long-term strategy and constantly come back to you and say, hey, listen, you need to be realistic about your wellness, because we don't
Well,
want
and
to
if you
be, yeah,
go ahead.
we don't want to be getting the phone call from your spouse, or you or your kids of, dad's in the ER, mom's in the ICU, grandpa just had his first stroke, grandma just had her first heart attack, right? Uh, so we really help people with all that because they need the help. And that's what doctors are supposed to do. And they don't, because the profession has been totally, totally derailed by our profit driven model of medicine. And that's what good coaches do, instead of just yelling at you louder and longer so that you'll, lift more weight, more reps, more sets.
Well, it's the yin and the yang. It's the balance, right?
Yeah,
And
it is.
there's the noise, there's the quiet, there's the light, there's the dark. And our modern world has, doubled light, and I mean, even, just expanded light, expanded
Mm-hmm.
activity, and our physical activity is going down. We're doing less and less and less, but our chronic mental stress has gone up, and to the body,
Insane.
there's no real difference. But the
No real
difference with
difference.
the
Right.
physical low level stress of the manual labor is it's actually therapeutic, So,
Yes.
but I think we've gone on for
I think that's
quite some
enough.
time. I agree. But so get on our email list so we can, get in on our
We would be
free
crazy not
webinars.
to.
We got some really cool stuff that we're releasing to the email list only that'll really benefit you. And we look forward to, what's the topic this week? I forgot again.
Secrets of iron overload and blood donation.
That's
And
right.
also, what was I going to say? I forget.
That's okay. But yeah, this is Dr. Stillman's going to stand at the plate, and he's going to
Stop.
He's going to wind up. He's good, and he's a good rotator too. So, he's got that narrow infrasternal angle. He's going to be able to get in there and really hammer the ball over the fence with the iron overload. This is his topic. So, for those of you that are listening, I was demonstrating some baseball stance in my chair.
That's right. And also, please like, share, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, because the Lord knows the algorithm does not like us.
It hates us. It hates us because we go off script.
We just tell the truth.
I know. And
the
it's
truth
fun.
is, it'll set you free, but it'll also end you up in Instagram jail.
On that note, have a great day, everybody.
Goodbye. Bye. Get outside.